In the know.
Good evening, everyone.
In the know.
Tony Reeves, Tony Reeves, Tony Reeves, Tony Reeves, fire. Following the news in any way, shape, or form. No shortage of things to talk about. What does it mean? What will it bring? Is this a reality we simply have to accept? Tony Reeves, fire. Tony Reeves. Let's go ahead and get started.
All right, everyone. I want to thank you for tuning in. Normally today we would do our show live and this would be a rebroadcast of that show, but unfortunately we had some technical difficulties, so I'm actually uploading the show here now that I was going to discuss live. But trust me, we're going to work out those glitches, and the first Wednesday of December we'll be back rocking and rolling, so make sure you tune in here to check it out live or check out the reevesfirm.com website. All right, today we're talking about preparing for a continuing disability review. As you probably may be aware of, that a routine review is something just to make sure that you're still disabled. So it's important that you take certain steps in order to prepare for this review. So let's talk about what a few of those steps are so that this way you're not surprised when it happens. Okay, so I'm looking over here at different screens, so please forgive me. First of all, let me throw out one very big fundamental point. From the moment you find out you're approved, you should be treating your case as if you're trying to prove disability again. Now, I know some of you are like, wait a minute, that just sounds so stupid. Think about it now. You have I've said this before in other videos, you have an ongoing responsibility to prove that you are disabled. It doesn't end just because you're found disabled. Because at any point in time, Social Security could determine whether it be tomorrow, a month from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, that they need to review to see whether or not they believe that you are still disabled. So from the very moment you get approved for disability benefits, you need to have yourself in this mindset that that responsibility never ends. So you have to continue to prove that you're disabled. So how do you do that? Well, from the moment you're approved, here's some things you need to remember. Continue going to your doctors. Now, some of you are going to say, well, I'm in bad shape. Why would I not go? You would be surprised. You would be surprised the number of people out there that literally will stop getting treatment as aggressively as they were getting when they were trying to prove that they're disabled because they think that they have reached the promised land. Trust when I tell you this. Don't think that just because you got there, you're there. All right? So I can't stress this enough. Keep going to your doctors. Continue getting statements from your doctors about whether or not they believe you're still disabled. Keep those statements in your file, because what happens is at some point Social Security is going to look at the point where you were determined to be disabled and then the point where they're reviewing to make a determination of whether your condition is medically improved. So you want to have documentation along the way, even after you're found disabled, that supports that your condition is ongoing. Okay? Also, whatever treatment the doctors have prescribed, let's say that when you were going through the disability process, they had recommended that you needed to have a particular surgery or some additional physical therapy or a particular medication. Don't just say, I got the money, I'm good to go. No. What you want to do is you want to continue following that treatment. Why? Well, first of all, hopefully it'll improve your circumstances because ideally you want to go back to work. But if it doesn't, you want to be able to show Social Security if they come back later that, hey, I've tried the treatment didn't work. Don't hate me, hate the game, because I tried it, but it didn't work. All right? Also, you want to make sure that you want to document your situation, meaning as you're going through day-to-day activities, remember, the person that you are when you're getting disability, regardless of whether you believe it or not, is different from the person a year or 2 years from now. If your situation is the same, you want to be able to document it that it's the same. So that means if you're still having problems riding mass transit, if you're still having problems riding the bus, if you still have problems going out and dealing with people, if you still have problems being exposed to temperature extremes, whatever the case may be, you want to make sure that those things are ongoing. Okay? Also, put your doctors on notice. While you're going through the disability, while you're going to them, let's say, so you get approved, continue to tell your doctor that, hey, at any point in time, I may go through a review, so you might get some documentation from another Social Security review asking about my situation. So just keeping you on notice and so forth. So this way it's not a surprise. Okay? Stay tuned, and we're going to talk about the second part of this when we come back from our break about steps that you can do to prepare for continuing disability review.
Under the Social Security regulations, representatives are permitted to practice before the administrative agency anywhere in the country, which means that when you're looking for a representative, you can find someone who doesn't necessarily have to be in your state if you're just going before the administrative agency. So it's possible to have an attorney or representative who's from Utah, even though you may be in Georgia. And our office is actually no different. So if you're wondering which states we cover, check this out. Now the tricky part is once you have to sue the Social Security Administration. Under that situation, you want to have an attorney that's representing you in your jurisdiction. So if you have a representative who's in another state and you've gone all the way to the Appeals Council and you've been denied and you want to sue the Social Security Administration, you make sure you ask that representative whether or not they can sue someone in that particular state.
All right, welcome back. And here we're going to talk about the second part of our preparing for continuing a disability review. Okay, now, as I indicated before in the first half, I said the important thing is, of course, it's a routine review. I talked about the things that you needed to do in terms of steps along the way to prepare. Here are a few parting shots that you definitely need to be mindful of. First, you don't know when it's going to happen, so you need to treat it as if it's going to happen today. Now, this is going to sound corny, and you're going to say, well, what do you mean? You'll be surprised the number of people who reach out to me talking about, yo, I'm going through, when am I going to have a review? And I tell them there is no way to know when you're going to have it. First of all, remember this. You are always at risk of having a review. Don't think because if you don't call Social Security that you can hide under their radar. No, you're in their system getting benefits, so you are always in the position of possibly have to undergoing a review. So instead of freaking out and hoping, I got by today, be proactive and be prepared for the fact that it may happen tomorrow or today. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second, when you get your decision, you're fully favorable, whether it be your first time or after your review and so forth, keep a copy of that. Now you would say, why? Well, this is the benchmark point that Social Security relies on in determining whether or not you've improved. Now, if you got approved at the hearing level, those ALJ decisions are so much better. Why? Well, a lot of times the decisions are very detailed. It lets you know what the basis was, meaning what medical conditions they relied upon in terms of which ones they thought was severe, what limitations they thought you did and didn't have, what medical evidence they relied upon to support those positions. That is awesome. So guess what? When you're getting ready to go for a review, you have a document that you can provide to your doctor, so your treating doctors, and say, hey, this is what they said back in the day. Okay? This is what they said back in the day. Tell me if you notice any changes in my situation now, and if you do, can you document it accordingly? Now, if you get a decision from the local office, it's not as good as a judge's decision, mainly because a lot of times it'll give you only snippets you'll say, these are the medical records that we had. You indicated this was a condition. If I believe your condition continues, this is what we relied upon. So it doesn't go into the same level of detail like it was before a judge, but it is something important to have because at least you know what medical evidence they had before them when they made those decisions. So keep that in mind. Now, let me give you this ending shot to kind of give you some additional information for you going forward. I want you to remember this. It's coming. Unless you're about to turn 65, where at that point it converts to retirement, unless you're at that point, recognize you stand a fairly good chance of getting a review. Brace for it. Accept it. It's coming. I know you don't want to hear this, but the reality is that those reviews, they're coming. Okay? So knowing that in the back of your mind, just remember this. To be proactive about doing things to prepare for a review. Don't sit here. A lot of people take the attitude that they're hoping they duck, they keep themselves with the hopes that maybe they can keep under Social Security's radar. Don't act like you can do that. Be proactive. Trust me, just like I said, what you have to do for purposes of disability, of approving you, getting your case approved, you want to control helping Social Security determine how you're disabled. You don't want the government to figure out whether you're still disabled. You want to be proactive about showing them that you are. So take these steps and be aggressive. A review is coming. More than likely, you're going to get reviewed at least a couple of times during the course of your case, and maybe only once if they determine the first time. Just know that there's a fairly good chance you're going to get a review. Be proactive about doing the things you need to do to show that you are still disabled.
I want to thank all of you for engaging in the videos. Make sure you take the opportunity to send me any comments or send me any particular questions that you want me to have addressed here. As you know, this show is for you, and so the only way I can make sure that I can provide you some good information is if you provide me some good questions. Keep them coming, and right here on Q&A, Social Security Disability Today.